My name's Kris Hall with WDUN News and Radio in Gainesville, and today we are headed north to Habersham County in northeast Georgia, where we are going to be doing a ride-along with the Sheriff's Department up there with Sergeant Hall, and we are going to be learning a little bit more about speeders in the area and what the Sheriff's Department is doing to combat the issue. It's been a growing issue, not just in Georgia, but around the country, as more and more people are getting caught for speeding at higher and higher speeds, it seems. So we're going to find out if there's any truth to that today, and we're going to see if, during our ride along, if we end up catching a few and how that goes. So how do you go about deciding on the road, on 365, or wherever you're patrolling, how do you go about picking a spot?
It comes down to what kind of mood I'm in that day. Mm-hmm. If I want to go work speed, or if I want to go do hands-free, seatbelt enforcement, or hit the back roads.
Yeah.
Generally on 365, I go to where our hot spots are. And
yeah.
we figure those out through the number of citations we write in a particular area, and through GIS mapping through the GEAR system, which is the Georgia Accident Reporting System. I'm able to go in there, excuse me, and pull up accidents to a specific amount of time frame, and then it'll show me the hot spots where we're having those accidents at, and then I can narrow it down to whether it was DUI related, speed related, something else. So our hot spots typically is the same area between Demarest Manor and the Hall County line.
Okay, so you kind of have some kind of almost like a heat map of where you can go and where most people are speeding or accidents are happening.
Yep, and if you look at it, that red is just right up the 365 corridor.
Yeah. And
I can do it for any county, so if I wanted to do it just the 365 counties, which is Hall and Habersham and into Stevens, and just see how many number of crashes we've had in those areas, and just pull that up and look. And, it just stays red along that corridor. And that's what it comes down to. That's what most of these accidents come down to. Somebody
trying to shoot a gap.
They're crashes.
Yeah. So
somebody did something stupid.
Yeah.
That caused it. And that's typically on 365. Some of the issues that we have. Now they're putting in these Michigan U-turns, which it's going to help some. But the problem I see that I've seen at Jaymore is you get the folks leaving out of Jaymore, and they immediately shoot over to the fast lane in front of all the fast traffic. So that slows everybody down behind them, and then they dip off into the turn lane to make the U-turn.
Yeah.
And then when they make the U-turn, they pull out in front of traffic, making the U-turn. So we've had a couple of crashes of our Michigan U-turns already.
And what are those called? You said they're Michigan
U-turns?
Yeah, how does that?
So they're set up with centered concrete gore now that prevents cross traffic.
Yeah.
So they have to right turn only from the side street, and then if they're wanting to cross over, they have to make that right turn only, go down to the U-turn that's been created.
I see.
And then come back up.
Is that kind of like an R-cut type situation?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Sweet.
Different names for them.
Yeah. So you were calling it a Michigan U-turn?
Michigan U-turn,
okay.
Yeah. I knew 365 was one of the major problems in the state before I even started working up here. I started my career initially in Hall County, moved over to Forsyth County after about 10 months in Hall County, and spent the next 18 years in Forsyth, where I retired from, before I came up here.
Yeah.
And being part of this network, the Northeast Traffic Enforcement Network, we knew just coming up here for meetings and stuff and hearing about 365 and how dangerous it was. They called it the death highway, because there's so many fatalities associated with 365.
What do you think is the reason for that? Because I mean, there's obviously, there's highways all over the place. You got Georgia 400. You've got.
It's a combination of people not paying attention, people being in a hurry. Our fatality that we had the other week, I think that was speed was most definitely a factor.
Yeah.
But it comes down to when you're doing something like that, that's just plain idiotic behavior and selfishness. There's no reason somebody should be going 150 to 175 miles an hour out here on these roadways.
So is there anything unique about 365 specifically? Is it just skinnier than some? Is it?
No, it's.
Is it 2 lanes on each side, or
two lanes? Yeah, it's 4 lane, 2 on each side. It's built like everyone else. I think what sets it apart is the number of cars on the roadway.
Yeah.
This is a major thoroughfare for people coming from Atlanta, going to Cherokee and Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge.
Okay.
Cherokee is almost daily. We get gamblers back and forth all hours of the night. But then during the summertime, during the fall, and then on weekends, we get the travelers that are heading up to Pigeon Forge, Cherokee, and Gatlinburg. So you see a huge increase Fridays and Sundays as far as traffic goes. But on average, there's 200,000 cars that pass through here a day.
Jeez.
So
200,000?
200,000.
That's incredible. I never would have guessed that high. That's crazy.
And I would put that 200,000 mark is probably what we have at the busiest time, especially the weekends and then the vacation travelers.
Can you tell me a little bit about what HEAT is, what you guys do with that?
So HEAT is the Highway Enforcement of Aggressive Traffic. It's through the Governor's Office of Highway Safety. It's a grant that agencies can apply for and get. I think we are one of 23 grantees right now, if I remember right. So when a grantee applies, GOHS funds that HEAT unit at 100% for the first 3 years, and then that percentage goes down every year. We are in our 8th year of being in it, so we're going to get out of it for 2024 and then get back into it for 2025 so that we can get back into that 100% mark. And start over. Hopefully get a third addition to the HEAT unit, so we'll have 3 HEAT cars and an additional traffic unit. So that'll give us 4 people out here dedicated to working traffic.
How often are you seen impaired driving?
A lot.
A lot.
We rival and sometimes exceed what metro counties are doing.
Wow.
Our HEAT unit has been recognized every year through MAD and GOHS for our efforts. I was number 5 in the state last year for DUI arrests.
Wow.
With 204, and the next one up, I think he was in the 240s or 260s or something like that. He works in Richmond County, which is Augusta. So a population of probably rivals Atlanta's population. To our little 43,000 people here. So people are surprised at the number of DUI arrests that we have here, but we get a lot.
Yeah. And that's just a speed gun?
Laser.
Laser.
Yep. So I use laser and radar. Radar I usually use when I'm mobile. Like I said, out here it's hard to use radar unless I'm in a spot that I can cross over.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't even try. And the old adage goes, we see them long before they ever see us, is true in a lot of places.
Yeah. So you can hit that laser clear down there.
Yeah. From here, I can generally get them on a day like today as soon as they come through the curve way up there. So. It doesn't take long. Like I said, there's no of speeders.
This is March 175 status joint. 175 in service. Perfect.
So he was at 80.
What's the speed limit through here?
65.
65.
So it's 65 from just after you come out to Little Falls. There's one little section changes to 55, and then it's back to 65 till you get to down in Gainesville. It's about 26 miles before it changes to 70.
Okay.
From what I'm hearing from talking with the officers and even Georgia State Patrol, speeding became a bigger issue during COVID and during the pandemic and the lockdowns when people were finally able to get back on the road. It's like, I'm not really sure if it's because they were just so tired of being at home or they realized they could make better time when there was no traffic on the road, and then they've gotten in the habit of getting to work at a different time or being on the road at a different time. But there is a lot of speeding right now. And going hand in hand with speeding, there's also a lot of distracted driving. And what happens with distracted driving, whether it's eating a sandwich, putting on nail polish, checking your makeup in the mirror, or being on your phone, which we all know we shouldn't be on our phones when we're driving, but inevitably we all are. I mean, that's just human nature.
Yeah.
You need to put your phone out of reach where you can only get to it in an emergency, where you can't just be sitting there looking at texts or videos going down the road. Because what happens when you're distracted is it takes your eyes off the road. And if you're traveling even 65 miles an hour, which is the posted speed limit for Georgia 365, your reaction time, if you have to look back up and suddenly put on the brakes because somebody's pulled out in front of you, you may not have enough time to stop.
Yeah.
And you could be injured or killed.
What is the best way you guys are combating the issue, the rising issue of speeders? Because like we talked about earlier, how it's just getting worse and worse.
The same way we always have. We're presence and enforcement. Education doesn't seem to work. So, you know, we fall heavily on enforcement, and even still, that doesn't seem to work.
Yeah. When you say education, is it just mostly like, do you guys have like community outreach programs?
Community outreach, going to the schools, talking to the kids, the press releases, talking on the radio stations and putting stuff out in the papers and letting them know that we're out here. Like, you know, this past week it was Southern Slowdown. Yeah. Which was, you know, a combined effort, you know, an over-the-top effort to get out there and enforce speed. So those things on top of the normal mobilizations that we do, the click it or ticket and zero tolerance and 100 days of summer heat and all that other stuff.
So when you're sitting here you're looking for seat belts right here. So do you just kind of look through that gap in the window, kind of behind their head, you can kind of see the strap?
I can either try to see when they come across and see across the chest, but then when they get past me, if I couldn't see the chest, I'll look for the gap right here. See if it's coming across the shoulder. Or you make a speeding stop or stop for something else and you walk up and just like that.
They like pull their phone off.
No, this violates.
It's on there, but you can kind of see.
Yeah, it
You can
violates.
see that they're looking down at it.
They can't support it by any part of their body. But you do get those that think they're slick and they're doing this.
Yeah.
Trying to hide it, but
Yeah, they're like a kid in
you
class.
can tell when they're doing this like 100 times. Why'd you stop me? You know I stopped you.
So what is it when you're in the school zone? I guess this kind of goes back to speeding a little bit too. Obviously, there's those lights that are blinking, 25 mile an hour or 20 or whatever it is. Do you guys tend to hold that pretty pretty hard? If you're in that zone and you see someone going 27, 30 miles an hour, you kind of...
I give them 5.
Yeah. But if they're going 32, like, you're pulling them over. Yeah. Are you evaluated based on the number of stops, or is not solely based on it, obviously, but does that kind of play into some kind of evaluation for you guys?
GHS looks at it. NHTSA says grantee should have at least 2 stops per hour.
I see.
GHS is like, we'll give you 1 stop per hour. We won't complain.
Yeah.
So there's some days like this when I worked 11 hours and only had 9 stops. But if you go back and look at that, how many DUIs did I have that day? Because that takes a good hour and a half, 2 hours out of my time.
Yeah, because you got to actually arrest them and take them.
Yeah, so look them up, wait on the wrecker or whatever, get blood, all that kind of stuff. So Chase and I are both phlebotomists. We do our own blood draws.
Oh, cool. You do that on the scene?
We'll do it on scene or at the jail, depending on what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's real good for safety checks. So we don't have to leave the safety check if we get a blood draw. Somebody agrees, we can just do it right there, put them in the car, and they can sit and wait while we go out and check more cars till we get ready to leave.
So tell me a little bit about, what is it? Is it STEP?
So STEP, that's just our in-house traffic spot that we have. It's just specialized traffic enforcement patrols. That's where our third person would go. If we can hire somebody, get somebody that is going to hang around for a while.
Are you guys having difficulty finding people?
Yeah, just like everybody else around. It's not just the state, it's the country.
Yeah.
Just finding good, qualified applicants. This is always busy. Normally it's like one right after another.
Yeah.
So I guess people are getting the idea. Which is good. I mean, I would rather it be that way.
Yeah.
Except for her.
There's no seatbelt?
122 to 3. Pinnacle 8 Clarksville Tom, Frank Victor 9678 TFB 9678 on a wet expedition. Can you move up just a little bit so we're not blocking this entrance?
Can you explain kind of how a pit maneuver works?
So ideally what you want to do is get up and get deep enough on that rear quarter panel, right or left side.
Yeah.
And the way you're taught, you quarter turn in, touch, push, and then a quarter turn out.
Yeah.
So that's the ideal way to do it. And that's fine and dandy in a practice track and when you're doing 45 miles an hour, but when you're out here doing 60, 100 miles an hour trying to hit somebody, it doesn't always go so smooth.
Yeah.
Depending on the vehicle. But say in this situation, we're in a fast lane here, we're going down the road, I want to come up and get on their quarter panel and put my pit bumper into that quarter panel. I'm just going to kind of quarter turn left, break their friction, and send them drive through it.
Yeah. How fast were they going?
85.
85.
I knew as soon as you jumped out of that fast lane to go around. So now it gets a
Is that a full 20 over?
85. Yeah. So now you get a
111 dispatch.
ticket from the county, and then
Well,
you'll get a super speeder fine from the state of Georgia.
I'm
Is that, what super, is that the benchmark?
please.
20 over for super speed?
It's 75 on a 2-lane and 85 on a 4-lane.
Oh,
Super
okay.
speed.
How much is a super speeder fine from Georgia
It's
cost?
$200 on top of the probably $400 or so fine he'll pay.
Is it a per mile an hour over? Is that
They do it in brackets, so 14 and under is no points, and it's the lowest fine. It's like $175 maybe, something like that.
Uh-huh.
And then it goes 15 to 19, 20 to 24, and so forth.
okay?
So each bracket goes up probably another $50 or so. Let's see here. Let's get a speed. See if we can. about 6 inches. Make sure you look at your foot, okay? All right, you're good right there. All right, feet together, hands on both sides. This way you don't have to do anything with your feet. I'll set you in the car, get us out of the seat.
Can I just tell her this my baby is okay so she don't be scared?
Yeah. You talking about tell your girl?
Yeah, my baby.
Oh, yeah.
So she don't be wondering and be
I'll tell her
scared.
she needs to come back here and talk to y'all.
And I don't have no AC in there either. So
Oh, okay. I might let her come sit
I
back
don't
here.
want her to see me.
I might let her come sit back here. I don't want her to get hot. Probably gonna have about an ounce, maybe a weed there. $10.95. It's probably what he's been smoking on recently. That's probably what he was smoking.
Did you say originally he was speeding?
Speeding? Yes.
How was he? How fast was he going?
He's only going 77,
Okay.
but his mannerisms when he drove by too kind of
Oh, I see.
got my attention.
Search happening right now of a vehicle. It's an example of how you can speeding can lead to other things. The man was going about 12 over, and we're just south of Cornelia on 365 here in Habersham County.
Appears to be some Molly, maybe.
Around 2 o'clock probably, something like that. That wasn't on the 25th.
Yeah, so I think it's a mix of maybe a little bit of MDMA, but mostly methamphetamine.
I see.
One of our highest instances of wrecks happens at Georgia 365 and Georgia 384 in Baldwin, which is Duncan Bridge Road. Mm-hmm. We had about 3 times the number of wrecks there that we had at the intersections that don't have traffic signals. So I think drivers get a false sense of security. Well, there's a traffic signal. That tractor trailer that's coming down through there at 70 miles an hour is going to get stopped for me. Mm-hmm. When they may or may not even realize there's a traffic light there, much less be able to react to it. And it's really scary. And I know that Habersham County officials and our local legislative delegation are working with the Georgia Department of Transportation to kind of look at some ways to address intersections. Mm-hmm. But the hope that Georgia 365 would be limited access with only bridges and ramps It's not realistic at this point.
Yeah.
Not in our lifetimes, probably, because it would probably be in the billions to do what would have to be done. And our traffic units can't get to every single violator. I mean,
Yeah.
you've
Not
ridden,
possible.
you've seen. And when we have 3 deputies on the road on most shifts right now, and then if we're lucky, we might have a couple of traffic units out. But, you know, the shift deputies are responding call to call to call. I mean, constantly. And our traffic units can only do what they can do.
Yeah.
They're very limited. And yes, it'd be nice if we had several more folks in the traffic unit, but we're not trying to run a speed trap. We're trying to save lives.
Yeah.
Our point is this: make it safer for your family, for our families, everybody's families.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Mount Zion Road is one that I can speak of personally.
Yeah.
I have a friend that lost her sister and her 5-year-old son there on Halloween of 2021. And then that's where we had our most recent 5 fatality wreck. It was just south of Mount Zion, happened there in the area of the intersection.
Can you kind of walk me through, I know Georgia State Patrol is working on an investigation with that, but maybe just the bare bones, walk me through sort of what happened there.
All I can really say is it was a very high-speed impact. There was an SUV coming from the median crossing, and a Corvette struck the passenger side of that SUV at, I would just say, an extreme speed, and that's all I can say.
Yeah.
And it was just catastrophic.
Yeah.
I mean, just catastrophic.
There was 5 fatalities.
5 fatalities, including 2 children.
I take all these fatalities that we have personal.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because I'm like, could I have been out there? Could I have done more? Could I have been invisible? Could I have locked up more people, written their tickets, that kind of thing. Jason and I were both at Jackal Island at the Prosecuting Attorneys Council summer conference.
Oh, I see.
And I immediately was. He could tell I was in a mood.
Yeah.
I feel like
put you in a funk.
we would have been there working.
Yeah.
It was my normal time to work, and I probably would have been working somewhere along this stretch, and may have been prevented that.
174 dispatch.
174.
174, 10-8, 10-104.
Come on.
Down here where the crash happened, there's actually still debris. There's still some burnt wreckage, just a little bit here and there spread around. You can see on the ground here, there's some remnants, plastic bits, charred wood. The 3 crosses, the 2 children and the mother who was driving the Suburban. There are no crosses for the 2 in the Corvette yet. Those are yet to be placed. More burnt rubbish and refuse around. Really harrowing accident. One of the deputies said it was one of the worst wrecks he's seen in 27 years working. Looks like we've got burnt rubber there. But this is where it happened, was at this intersection here, where they're now thinking about putting an R-cut in order to help mitigate that issue. It'd make it so you couldn't drive across the road. You would have to turn right, go down, and then turn around, do a U-turn to get to the other side of the highway, and then to get over there. Which, while it may cost a bit of time, could potentially save some lives. At the site of the wreck, my name is Christian Ashelman with WDUN News. Until next time.